Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving straight into a massive biological mystery that frustrates literally millions of people. We're going after the hidden microscopic drivers behind stubborn belly fat. Why exactly does it happen? And more importantly, what is going on beneath the surface that your bathroom scale is completely hiding from you? Let's jump right in.
So think about this for a second. Have you ever wondered why two people can eat the exact same amount of food, live pretty much the same lifestyle, and yet one person keeps a flat stomach while the other ends up with a really stubborn spare tire? For decades, we've just treated fat like a simple math problem, right? Calories in versus calories out. But that approach completely ignores the actual biological instructions telling all that fat exactly where it needs to go. When we're talking about body fat, it's basically the old real estate rule. Location, location, location. We have subcutaneous fat, which is the safer, pinchable layer right under the skin. But then we have visceral fat. This is the truly dangerous stuff. It wraps deeply around your internal organs inside your belly, and it actively drives things like cardiovascular disease and metabolic syndromes. So the big question is, why on earth does our body actively choose to pack fat around our most vital organs?
Well, historically, we thought we had this all figured out. We'd look at the obvious physical differences between men and women and pretty much just point the finger at hormones. Generally speaking, women have a higher overall percentage of fat mass, but it preferentially goes to that safer subcutaneous storage. Men tend to have more lean mass, but when they do gain fat, boom, it goes straight to the belly as dangerous visceral fat. We just assumed, okay, estrogen directs fat safely under the skin, and male hormones drive it to the gut. Easy enough. But scientists recently started to ask, wait, is it really just the hormones, or is there something way deeper at play here?
To actually figure this out, researchers needed a way to completely separate the hormones from the underlying genetics. It's almost like a biological magic trick, and it's called the Four Core Genotypes, or FCG mouse model. This is a brilliant scientific tool that takes the incredibly complex puzzle of biological sex and literally uncouples it. They can generate mice with XX chromosomes that actually have testes and XY mice that have ovaries. By doing this, they can finally see if the chromosomes themselves, entirely on their own, are acting as hidden culprits in metabolic disease. And the data from this model? Absolutely wild. It turned out that just having two X chromosomes independently drove increased fat mass and made the mice way more susceptible to fatty liver. On the flip side, having the XY pairing was linked to improved cardiac recovery, but also greater nervous system inflammation. Now notice what is missing here. The gonads. These outcomes were tied directly to the chromosomes themselves, completely independently of whether the mouse had male or female hormones circulating in its system. So here is the massive plot twist in the story of body weight. Your underlying X chromosome dosage is actually a huge independent risk factor for obesity. The mice with two X chromosomes gained nearly twice as much fat as the mice with an X and a Y. And here's the crazy part. They gained all this extra weight even when they were fed a totally standard, regular diet. So if you've ever felt like your genetics are just out to get your waistline, well, science is showing that right down to your foundational chromosomal pairing, your body has an incredibly strong internal thermostat dictating how and where fat gets stored. Which really just highlights the sheer, beautiful complexity of what we're looking at. It's like a giant puzzle where your sex chromosomes, your hormones, environmental factors, and even the bugs in your gut all funnel together to create your unique metabolic web. Basically, your genetics load the gun, but your environment and your daily behaviors actually pull the trigger. And speaking of behaviors, we really need to talk about an everyday habit that might be quietly packing visceral fat right around your organs as we speak.
So let's pivot from the genetic stuff to something you actually control: sleep. Be honest. Do you think you can just pull late nights, skimp on sleep, and just get away with it without any consequences to your waistline? Well, researchers at the Mayo Clinic wanted to find out exactly what happens to our fat distribution when perfectly healthy people are systematically deprived of sleep. Picture this, a super rigorous 21-day inpatient clinical trial. They brought in a group of healthy, lean individuals. For the first 4 days, everyone got a luxurious 9 hours of sleep just to acclimate. Then the hammer drops. For the next 2 solid weeks, the sleep-restricted group was limited to just 4 hours in bed per night. Finally, they gave them a 3-day recovery period where they went back to 9 hours. And the whole time, throughout the entire 21 days, everybody had completely free, unrestricted access to food. The data they got out of this is just fascinating. Being deprived of sleep caused this really subtle, almost unconscious behavioral shift. The tired group started eating over 300 extra calories every single day. And they specifically craved the rich stuff, eating 13% more protein and 17% more fat than normal. But here is the trickiest part of the whole study. Their overall weight gain? Deceivingly tiny.
On average, they only gained about 1 single pound on the scale. If you were doing this at home, you'd step on the scale, see a 1 pound difference, and think, hey, no big deal, skipping sleep isn't hurting me at all.
But you would be totally wrong, because even though they only gained a single pound of total body weight, CT scans revealed an absolutely staggering 11% increase in dangerous internal visceral fat, plus a 9% increase in total abdominal fat. That lack of sleep didn't just make them snack a little bit more. It actively redirected the tiny bit of fat they did gain straight into the absolute worst, most dangerous compartment of their bodies, deep around their organs.
Oh, and if you were sitting there thinking, well, I'll just sleep in on the weekend to fix it. Actually, scratch that. Prepare for a terrifying surprise. During the recovery phase of that study, when people finally got their 9 hours of sleep back and naturally started eating fewer calories again, the internal visceral fat damage actually kept growing. The catch-up sleep did not reverse the visceral fat buildup in the short term. The researchers realized that inadequate sleep is a hugely under-recognized trigger for visceral fat, and it's a trigger that compounds over time, year after year. Okay, so we've looked at our deeply wired chromosomes and we've looked at our sleep habits, but what about the trillions of microscopic organisms living inside of us right now? We are quickly learning that our internal gut bacteria might actually be the ones pulling the strings on our metabolic health and, incredibly, even our hormones. Get this. According to the Annual Review of Nutrition, researchers literally transplanted gut microbiota from an adult male mouse into young female mice. And the result? The female mice experienced a massive, significant physical spike in their testosterone levels. Let that sink in for a second. Simply swapping gut bugs actually altered the host's physical hormone levels. And not only that, but the female mice that received the male gut bacteria were actually protected against autoimmune type 1 diabetes. Your gut microbiome is literally acting as an active control center, interacting with your diet and your biological sex to dictate your metabolic fate.
Which brings us to the end of our investigation for this explainer. Look, we cannot change whether we have XX or XY chromosomes. We're wired with specific genetic blueprints from day one. But what we've seen today is that our choices still matter immensely. If being sleep deprived actively redirects your fat to wrap around your vital organs, and if the microbes in your gut can literally manipulate your hormones and protect you from disease, the power really is in your daily habits. So I will leave you with this to chew on. Knowing everything you know now, how are your nighttime routines and your daily meals dictating where your body stores its fat today? Thanks so much for joining me, and keep asking those big questions.